Oh.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You think sitting in the content?
It isn't you on television. Mike, look at her.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Front Line with Joe and Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. Friday night this week, all right? We apologize. A little scheduling change, but we're Friday night, and we're going into the breach, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Joe, I got to say something about those clips, okay? I got to say something right now. If I'm Keanu Reeves in the first clip, or if I'm any of those people in the second clip, I'm having the same reaction, same exact reaction. The only difference is I'm going to have to barf because every time I hear her laugh, because it's such a fake put on, she probably went for acting lessons with one of her Hollywood friends, and they told her, "Here, I'm going to give you something to do." And every time you when in doubt, do this laugh, and it's so fake. And I don't even know how to describe. Fake's the best word. It makes me want to puke. But the one thing about that first clip, though, is that that's what she tries to do. She tries to come off like she's a regular person. Donald Trump's a multi-billionaire, and he is an infinitely more regular guy. He puts ketchup on a well-done filet mignon in a steakhouse, okay? That's a regular guy. I like that guy, all right? She probably puts béarnaise, and I like béarnaise, but she probably puts béarnaise, okay? She does not come across as a real deal, genuine person, Joe, and I'm not being unfair. Listen, we got some clips for y'all out there tonight, all right? It's going to show you just how much of a regular guy Donald Trump is. He is a regular guy. Look, Joe and I have said on this show a million times, we have now some deep disagreements with Trump. Overall, he's going to be better for the country. Okay, that there's no question about that because we know what the Marxists want and we know what their puppet Kamala wants. Trump is going to be overall better for the country. And Joe, he just comes across as a regular guy, and she comes across as so plastic and fake. And that's why Keanu Reeves and all those people are having that reaction.
Yeah, she doesn't have the gift. I mean, like Clinton was the best. I mean, I did not like Clinton, never voted for him, but he was the best. He was the type of guy that he could work a room. Barack Obama made you feel good. He was a great orator. George Bush could go into, they say meet with the CEO. A lot of people thought that he was not intelligent. I read an article, one of his economic advisors who taught at Stanford said that was absolutely untrue, that he was highly intelligent, George Bush. This is a guy that was teaching at an MBA program at Stanford. You could Google that. But also, he could go to a barbershop. He could shoot pool. He could smoke a cigarette. That's the gift of a president. The president, even Joe Biden, to a degree, had that gift. She simply doesn't have it. She doesn't have it. Mitt Romney didn't have it.
Right.
John Kerry didn't have it. They couldn't be regular. They couldn't be normal. Like John Kerry or Mitt Romney couldn't go into a pool hall in Belleville, New Jersey. They would just feel awkward. Everyone there would feel awkward.
Trump could. Trump could.
But that's the gift. I mean, like Clinton could do that. Obama could do that. Even Joe Biden could do that.
I'm going to say, I'm not going to give you Obama. Because to me, he tried to do that I agree with you. He was great at giving a speech. Okay. I think when he doesn't have written words, and I think, we've seen that from him during his presidency and afterwards, when he doesn't have like a written script, he's not as effective. When that guy's got a script, he could bring it. Really could bring it, politically speaking. But I'm not going to go with you on the regular. Obama can't walk into Guys and Dolls on Washington Avenue in Belleville and play pool because he'll look fake. But like you said, his words kind of, if he's giving a speech, kind of make you feel inspired, kind of make you feel good. Clinton, I'm 1,000%. Clinton will come in like a regular guy, silver tongue devil. He'll walk into Guys and Dolls. He'll take off his jacket. He'll start shooting pool, and he'll drop $20 on the pool table. Say, "Come on, we're going to play 9-ball for 20." Clinton, I believe that 1,000. I'm with you. Kerry, complete dud. He still is, by the way. We've covered him on the show.
100%.
He still
But
is.
that's the gift of a president. She doesn't have it, and that's being objective. I'll be honest with you. They really had a bad personnel pick. I think they could have done so much better than her. And I'm talking way back when they pulled her out of California. She
Right.
really just didn't like somebody who eyeballed her, just like they eyeballed Pete Buttigieg. He was a mayor. He just happened to be a Harvard educated gay mayor from the Midwest. Someone eyeballed him. It was almost like a scout. They pulled him out. Whoever eyeballed her for whatever reason missed the fact that she just doesn't have skills. And I'm going to tell you this, if they push her through, which could happen, I mean, anything could happen the way that the election laws are structured, her star is going to crash so fast to the point where everywhere she goes, she will be booed. Her ratings were 28% as the vice
Joe,
president.
we had a clip. We can't play it because of copyright reasons. We had a clip, and I would encourage everybody to go out and watch it, where Glenn Beck breaks it all down. Joe, this is going to go beyond what happened in 2020.
Oh, Joe, it's going to be a mess. And it's all done on purpose. This all could have been avoided. I could have avoided all this on one sheet of paper on one side. If any person who thinks that this was not done on purpose, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. And the Republicans are part of it. Why are they talking about it now? Talk about it is 4 years ago when they changed all the election laws and they didn't change them back. We're not in COVID anymore. There's no reason to have mail-in ballots. There's every reason to have ID.
Did you vote, by the way?
No, not yet. I'll vote on the day.
Right by where I work. I was looking for polling places because I don't want to be there on election day this year. I don't. I'm going to go get a bottle of Johnny Walker Black. I'm coming home. I'm doing what I do every 4 years. Probably going to be frustrated because at the end of the night, Maricopa County's already said that they're going to need 10 days to count the votes. Why do you need 10 days to count the votes?
I did a post on that. Argentina, their last election, 99% of the vote was in 6 hours. One county in Arizona needs 10 days.
Right.
Like, Joe, something's wrong. And if you think that's a coincidence, again, your head's in the sand. This was structured this way. What they're telling you is this: your vote only counts when it comports with the establishment.
Right.
Period. End of story.
Establishment this year is Kamala Harris.
100%. It's the same. And we've talked about this on other shows. Glenn Beck broke it down. Brexit, gay marriage in California, Donald Trump in 2016. It went against the establishment. What did they do? They corrected it. This is nothing more than a correction. They built it in. They baked it into the system. And it's a mess. And here's another thing. People could lose their lives. And they don't care whether they're Democratic voters or Republican voters. There could be riots. There's all types of stuff that could happen.
They're saying it already. They're broadcasting this. They're projecting this. Okay. First of all, right now, I think the Dems realize that's why Glenn Beck, I think, did that breakdown. Okay. And it makes all the sense of the world because Jamie Raskin is actually out there saying that on January 6th, if Trump wins, that the House needs to declare him disqualified. He is bringing on the violence because guess what, Joe? If you take away people's vote once, Americans, I think, are pretty tolerant. Twice. But again, we always try to tell everybody here at the front line with Joe and Joe, when we say that they're going to push people too far, you always have to remember Joe Resinello, and I think you'll agree with me, and I'd love your comments. They are trying to push
Well, they've
people too
already,
far.
Joe, I'll be honest with you, they lost me. I'll never trust this country as long as I am
No,
alive.
Joe, I mean in terms of violence,
Well,
pushing people to
that's a
violence.
mistake because I'll be honest with you, they want that.
That's
They
what, no,
actually
no, no, no. That's what I'm saying. That's
they
what I'm
want
saying to you.
that.
When I say what Jamie Raskin and the rest of them are trying to pull off is because they're trying to provoke people into violence. I'm saying that's that's not what we want. That's what they want.
No, 100%. And I'll tell you what, my hope, if they push her through, first of all, no one who's objective is going to believe it. And we're going to talk about Madison Square Garden shortly.
Oh,
Donald Trump packed a huge arena in one of the most liberal cities in America. Kamala Harris couldn't pack Madison Square Garden
not on her
in
best day.
New York. So, and these are her people. So my point is, no one is going to look me in the face and tell me she won this election. Why? Because you don't have controls around your election laws. It's that simple. And here's another thing. They're not going to believe it if Donald Trump wins. This is what they did. They didn't believe it when he won the first time. Hillary still says he didn't win. Yet they give her the pass, and they constantly criticize Donald Trump, even in the debate.
Well, listen, John Kerry, or Al Gore refused to believe that George Bush won in 2000. John Kerry refused to believe that George Bush won in 2004. Hillary, by the way, everybody conceded, okay? But they say they don't believe. Stacey Abrams still hasn't conceded the race she lost several years ago in Georgia. Hillary Clinton's doing the same thing. Who the F are the election deniers? We had actually stone cold evidence that judges bought and paid for judges, probably by Soros money, said, well, we don't see the evidence. No, you didn't say that. What you said was, you said that those people that were filing those suits didn't have cause. You never looked at the evidence because you knew that if you looked at the evidence, all right, that you were gonna have to look at it like the rest of us jabokes and say, you know what, something a little bit shady's going
No,
on.
no, what's
But
sad is
go ahead,
the
Joe. Go.
CIA. we have been fixing elections for decades in foreign countries. The CIA, absolutely. I'm convinced they were involved in what happened in Brazil. We were part of the coup in 2014 in the Ukraine that took out a duly elected president, a president who was voted in by the people. By the way, Zelensky has suspended voting, and we're saying that I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's worth noting we're defending democracy. He has suspended voting in his country,
Right.
but I digress. We have been doing this for decades, and now it's happening right before our eyes to our own people, by our country. All of these election laws have been structured to create a one-party system. And Mike Knowles has said this, who's on the Daily Wire, and he's right. If Donald Trump does not win this election, all the wind is at his back. You have a weak president. You have a weak candidate who basically came in a palace coup.
Right.
We will never and can never win another election. This is the last election in America. If the Republicans and Donald Trump do not win this election, they have every single thing on their side. Pack it in. It's now a one-party system. Just like California has been a one-party system when they granted amnesty to the migrants in that state in 1986. It is a one-party system. Impossible for anyone to challenge the Democratic regime in that state. And what you see in California, they destroyed the most beautiful state in America, and that is going to spread across the entire country in front of everybody's eyes for however long God says it has to happen. Maybe then people will wake up, but who knows? Because if you can't wake up now and you elect this woman who has no political gifts. She has not been clear on any of her policies. She just mentions platitudes and nonsense, and she can't put three sentences together.
And Nazis, Joe.
If
the Nazis
you elect
are coming.
This woman, as my mother would say, you just get what you deserve.
Right.
And that is exactly what we're going to get, America. So buckle up, because it's going to affect everybody. The
Well,
people who voted for her and the people who didn't as well.
now, one place that's not so beautiful in the United States is New York City. Okay, and we know that. That's not because we're knocking New York City. New York City's not a beautiful city anymore. It's actually fairly disgusting. Okay, you work in there. I worked in New York City for over 20 years in a couple of different professions. All right, New York is a disgusting place. The crime is through the roof. Homelessness all over the place. Eric Adams is a guy I don't agree with, but actually what he's been saying in the last several months, you know where that landed him, Joe? And he's a fairly loyal Democrat. That landed him with an indictment. So it goes to show you, okay, exactly what will happen if you, even if you're one of them, if you even go against them a little bit. But the best that you mentioned, that the best that Kamala's got, okay, are platitudes, calling people Nazis. That's the new thing. AOC said the Madison Square Garden rally for Donald Trump in New York City, where he packed the house. He packed the house more than Led Zeppelin did in the 1970s. Okay, that's how many people were in the freaking arena in New York City. And the best they could do is it's a hate rally, it's Nazis, it's fascist. By the way, Joe Biden called us all garbage. Okay, and here's Eric Adams, who, Joe, I think you and I would probably disagree with on many, many things. Okay. But listen to some plain speaking from a Democrat for a change.
We're having. And with all that's going on to everyday New Yorkers, we're asking questions that is someone a fascist or is someone a Hitler. That's insulting to me. That is insulting. And I'm not going to engage in that. Everyone needs to turn down the rhetoric. Because after Election Day, we still have to be the United States and not the divided states. And so if people can't understand there are real issues facing New Yorkers, and I just find it just humiliating that what everyday mom and pops are doing and going through across this country, that here we are having this conversation about this silly item. So I refuse to participate in that. I'm going to fight for New Yorkers like I've done for years, and whomever can understand that, they're not in the streets. When I'm at these town halls, talking to people there, they're not asking me these silly questions. We are in this bubble, you know, and I know you guys really believe these stories you're writing. It gives you a lot of clicks. It's exciting and give you headlines. But this is not what New Yorkers and Americans are dealing with, folks. They are scared of their future. Someone needs to stand up and say, enough of this. Tone down the rhetoric. Let people hear the facts. Let them vote. And let's decide what the next 4 years are going to be for our city.
And he makes all the sense in the world. But the problem there with Eric Adams is, Eric, you have to talk to your own party. I don't care what they say, Joe Rossinello, about Donald Trump. Donald Trump attacked the media, rightfully so. He attacked the Democrats. That's politics. If you can't take it, as my mother would say in her Italian accent, that's a too bad. Okay, if you can't, then get out of politics. If you don't have some thick skin. Donald Trump never attacked the American people that were not going to vote for him. He never did once. The only people he attacked were, and this was not part of or they are part of the Democrat Party, but are BLM and Antifa, and people who were breaking things and hurting people. Okay, that's different. You should attack them. People that were just in their conscience voting Democrat, no matter how wrong I thought they were, or Donald Trump thought they were, Donald Trump never attacked them. Joe Biden is still, even though, shocker to everybody, shocker, Joe Biden is actually still president right now. He went on the joke. He called us garbage. And he didn't just pinpoint it. He didn't just pinpoint and say certain Trump supporters. He said we're all garbage, is what he's saying. They're calling us haters. They're calling us fascists. They're calling us Nazis. Joe, you can't do that. We've been around long enough on this earth to know, in America, you can't do that and get elected president. And that's what Hillary did, what she called us deplorables. That's what AOC and the rest of that horrid crew is doing by calling that a hate rally. Now they're saying fascist and Nazi and all that. Joe, if she's president on January 6th, is because they did everything Glenn Beck said in that video, where they went right down the line and they're going to steal it again. All right? Because you can't do that to the American people and think legit, Joe, legit, that you're going to get elected president.
I give Eric Adams a lot of credit because when push came to shove, he's caring about his people. That's what a mayor is supposed to be. I'm not voting for him. I can't vote. I don't live in New York. But then again, under these new election laws, you can vote anywhere you want. You don't have to
You
live
don't have to
anywhere.
show ID.
So maybe I will vote in New York. But again, I'm digressing. But I give him credit for what he said. Talk about the issues. Harris never has. She simply hasn't. Let's step back and be objective. You do not know where she stands. And there is a reason behind that, because Harris is going to deny what she said in that debate about fracking, just like Joe Biden lied in his debate against Trump, destroyed the oil business, destroyed those states with the pipeline, closed pipelines, workers lost their jobs. She's going to raise the corporate tax rate over 30%, which means tons of people are going to lose their jobs, not just fancy people. She is going to decimate the middle class, and you are empowering your oppressor. Any person who's in the middle class that votes for this woman, I'll be honest with you, outside of political identity, and frankly, you have to get some help and deal with your Trump derangement syndrome, which is a mental illness in and of itself. You're crazy. And Eric Adams is standing up for his constituency. Calling someone names, and that's all they have, does not or should not win you the presidency. And that's exactly what they're doing. Like Donald Trump or don't like Donald Trump, at least you know where he stands.
Right.
And then if you don't know where she stands, vote for a third party or don't vote at all. But you can't vote for someone who you don't know what she's going to do or say. That simply is not an adult way to approach the situation. You don't like Donald Trump? Vote for the third party. What's her name? Stein?
Yeah, Jill Stein.
Vote for Jill Stein. But to vote for someone who you don't know where or what she stands for, other than joy, other than he's a Nazi, other than let's come together, let's bring in hope. What the heck is that? What is
What
she
does
running
that
for
mean?
8th grade crossing guard chairman? I mean,
It's so syrupy and sappy.
I can't.
Let's bring in hope. I have hope, Kamala. I have hope that you're not
Joe,
elected.
I can't. It's the sick. I have never, I'll be honest with you, I've never seen. She is in my lifetime the worst
Of all time.
candidate of all time.
She's worse than Michael Dukakis.
I don't remember. He just had a bad hair game. Dukakis.
Oh, he had a terrible hair game.
He had like a hair helmet going on. He was on a tank. What was that thing when
he was on a tank and he went like this, and everybody said, "Look, he's a munchkin on a tank." Thing is that like Michael Dukakis, at least he was the governor of Massachusetts. Okay, I don't agree with the ACLU on anything. Okay, Michael Dukakis wasn't a puppet. All right, I don't consider him a puppet. He had some ideas. I just disagree with them, and he really did not have that it factor that a politician needs that you were talking about earlier. I mean, the guy was a drip. But nonetheless, I could respect him as a man. Kamala Harris, I don't respect her as a human being. She says nothing. She's a party girl. That's all she is. She slept her way to the top, and she's been milking that ever since. And guess what? Barack Obama's pulling her strings now. Her strings have been pulled all the way along the line. She's not an original thinker. She's not a free thinker. She's not. Okay? And people could see that because she can't even give us some policies. She can't even say, unless Trump said it first, like no tax on tips or no tax on overtime. All right. Oh, sure, she's in favor of that, but she's going to lie. She's going to lie to all those servers out there. All right. All those people working in hotels. She's going to lie, but she's just she's emptiness. She's an empty soul. She's what Dante would call shade. She's not even a human being. All right. It's like she doesn't even have her own identity. She does what she's told like a trained animal, especially with that cackle that she does. She has no substance to her whatsoever. Not even substance enough to disagree with Joe Resinello. I don't disagree with Kamala Harris because I don't know what she stands for other than killing babies up to the day they're born. I don't know what she stands for.
She'll tell you she'll tell you that she's not for that either until she does it.
Until she does it, right? And by the way, I voted against, obviously, Prop 139. And I found out for our audience to know, Arizona, and I certainly don't agree with it, Arizona has abortion legal up to 15 weeks without this referendum. This referendum would turn Arizona's abortion laws into New York, New Jersey's, California's, where you could kill babies even after they're born, basically. But let's get back to Trump for a second, okay? Joe, again, some guys, they're fake. Romney trying to act like a regular guy, never going to work. And Trump's got a lot more money than Romney, okay? Trump I believe him. Again, with all my issues with him, I believe him when he's for the regular guy.
Trailhead full of zombies. Met a strange lady, she made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. She said, "We come from a land down under, women blowing and thunder. Get you hear that thunder? You better take cover."
And 50 million Americans are not garbage.
And that's why I will vote for him. Write what you saw. I'm going to say something, Joe, and I'm going to throw it over to you. By the way, here at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello, we're way in the breach. Friday night this week instead of Thursday, but we're happy that you joined us. And of course, this will be posted Rumble, X, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching it. Please share it. Please, we're begging you. Share this wherever you're watching it. Here's the thing, Joe Resinello. Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Papa Bush, even Clinton, for all his Southern charm, okay? Every single president, every single presidential candidate doing what Donald Trump did in that clip, I wouldn't believe them. I would think they're being told to do that. I think Trump told them, his advisors, go out and get a garbage truck because I love the garbage men. I want them to make more money. I want them to keep more of their money. I don't want their lives controlled by the government. Teamsters, longshoremen, whoever it might be, contractors, construction workers, nurses, all of the teachers, all right? Those that are not in lockstep with their unions. I believe not one major political figure, either running for president or who was president, could do what Donald Trump just did. And I actually believe that video, what he really is saying is, I'm on your side. And guess what? This big coalition that he's bringing together, Joe, there is one common theme, even though you and I and them are Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon, Vivek, okay? We're going to have our issues with them as Catholics, all right? And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, all right, at the front line with Joe and Joe. But at the very least, my rights will be protected by every single one of those people. And Trump, moreover than anybody, actually wants me to do better in life. And I firmly believe the left is so far gone Marxist, they want nothing more than to create some of the division and chaos and violence and people out of work that you mentioned with the raising of the corporate income tax. Okay. They want that because they want to put together a Marxist government. I'm going to take the side of the larger coalition, and then we'll deal with them as we have to. But we got to win this election, and they're going to have to fight tooth and nail afterwards to make sure the Democrats don't rob it afterwards. But, Joe, I believe Donald Trump. I believe in the garbage man.
It was a humongous error on Joe Biden's part to call Trump supporters garbage. A humongous error. And to be honest with you, he's already trying to reel it back. That's news, actually, as of today. It's already been said. When are they going to learn? And frankly, that's exactly what they think of you. Hillary Clinton said it. She said basically 40% of the nation are deplorables. There is an elitism that is in the Democratic Party. Notice the parties have flipped. The Republican Party, Trump is now the party of the working man. Do not listen to the rhetoric. Do you know that 70% of the wealth of this nation voted for Joe Biden and only 30% of the wealth of the nation voted for Donald Trump the last time around? That is
Right.
a fact.
Right.
This is no longer the party, the Republican Party under Trump is the party of the regular man.
Yeah.
And if you think otherwise, you're delusional. All of those migrants, and I am for immigration, by the way, and I'm not for merit based immigration. I disagree with Donald Trump on that. People should be given a chance, but you have to have borders. That's just practical and common sense. By allowing all those people in, you have decimated the working poor and the working man in America because they're going to compete for their jobs. And their neighborhoods where a lot of those migrants are going to live are going to cause rents to go up because
Right.
it's basic supply and demand. And they know that as well as I know. It's basic economics, and that's just the cost of doing business to gain power. That is what they did to the regular man. And not enough people are saying that.
Right.
Donald Trump absolutely positively through tariffs, selective tariffs, not tariffs across the board, is for the regular man. And that's why the president of the Teamsters spoke at the Republican convention.
Yeah.
That's why the rank and file worker is for Donald Trump. Don't listen to the rhetoric when they say, I'm for the regular guy. That's why they put up Joe Biden, who was nothing more than wrapping paper on a bunch of lies,
Yeah.
elitist lies that have decimated the working person. Inflation is because of them, because of
Right.
going away from oil economy, embracing green economics, destroying the supply chain. That's why your grocery bill went up 30%. Notice your check didn't go up 30%. So the point is, you're voting against your own interests and you're not part of the country club. That's another thing that just makes me nuts. You hear some of these people, they talk as if they're one of these people. When I
Right.
mean these people, the elites, you're not one of them.
Right.
Get that out of your head. Oh, I make a good living. I live in an upper middle class town. You're not one of them.
Bro.
Not even close.
Right.
You're going to get drowned too. And the sick part is, you watch these people, they virtue signal. They actually think that somehow they're taking one for the team, that these people like them, they support them. They don't. You think that Barack Obama will have a beer with you? You think Joe Biden is going to come to your house and break bread? Not a chance.
Not a
You think
chance.
Kamala Harris and her husband is your neighbor? You're dreaming. They don't represent you. They're not one of you. I'm
Right.
not saying Donald Trump is one of you either, but at least his policies are speaking to you. Is he perfect? No, absolutely not. But when you compare the two, it's not a comparison.
But here's the thing: why are we under this idea? Why do we live under this idea? Because just because a person is rich, okay, wealthy. I mean, seriously wealthy. Why is it that it's automatically knee-jerk default reaction that they don't care about regular people? Elon Musk cares about regular people. He's the richest man in the world. He honestly cares about regular people. Now, look, Elon Musk is running Starlink and X and all the different enterprises he has going on. He's not going to take the time, unless him and I became friends, to come over my place, okay, in Arizona and come and have a glass of scotch with me. Okay, now I'm sure he has leisure time, but the man has a family and he's got huge responsibilities. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about me. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about you. So what? Donald Trump employed all those guys. All those construction workers, all those years in Jersey, in New York, all right, in Florida. It's all construction, it's all union labor. What do you think? He never talked to those men? You think he never had any interactions with those men? Just because he's building the building means he doesn't give a crap about those guys? I'm not buying it. You know who, a rich guy who doesn't care about me? Barack Obama doesn't care about me. Okay. Nancy Pelosi, who came into office poor, who's leaving the House of Representatives worth over $300 million because of her insider trading. She doesn't care about me. She is the typical person you talk about, Joe. They care about money, they care about power. That's it. That's it. Okay. Trump actually cares. And I think if I had again to try to put my finger on why they hate him so much, I think they really tried to hamstring him and they did a good job. He didn't do a lot of things he said he was going to do. I do believe if he gets in and doesn't get killed, okay, that he will do those things this time. It's because they don't like you, Joe Resinello. They don't like me. They don't like the people who watch the Frontline with Joe and Joe. They don't like the people who rather be on X than Facebook. Okay, because X is actually a free speech platform. They don't like any of us, and if he's even partially successful in what he wants to do with Elon Musk, and by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Ron Paul is offering because Elon Musk tweeted out something about cleaning up something and mentioned Ron Paul cleaning up the government. Ron Paul responded to him and said, "I'd be happy to sit down with you, Elon, and talk about that." They actually want to take power away from the federal government that has been concentrated there ever since our American Civil War and has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown and grown since then. They actually want to take some of that power, most of that power away, and give it back to the states and give it back to the people where it belongs. They want to be Americans, Joe.
Joe, but that is exactly why they don't want Donald. You see, this is what people are missing. They actually think the election is about them. You just broke the election down perfectly. It's about institutional power that has been gained over a long period of time, and they don't want to give it back. That is what this election is. You summed it up and you defined it. And then the media has basically projected outrage and hatred and is nothing more than a propaganda machine for that very institution. And people believe it. That's the sick part. They actually think that it's about them. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with Joe Pasillo just said. The machine, it's like a snowball. Over the decades, it has gained a tremendous amount of power, and Donald Trump's trying to give some of it back, and they're not having it.
They're not having it.
That is the definition of what this election is about.
And by the way, we're going because we're going to move on, but let's be clear. You're joining us here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello are away in the breach. Friday night this week instead of Thursday. We will be back Thursday next week, 9:00 Eastern time. Is that one thing to keep in mind, and then we'll move on. Remember, Trump might be able to do one or two things to put a dent in the bureaucratic state, into the administrative state. Let's say he abolishes the Department of Education, and then that's it. It goes back to the states. Okay, you abolish that, and let's say RFK Jr. is placed in a position where he's going to actually take power away from big agra and big pharma and wreck it, okay, like I'm hoping he does. And let's say that's all they do in 4 years. What you've done, though, is you've established now a precedent for the next iteration of Donald Trump, which could be J.D. Vance, could be Vivek, could be Ron DeSantis, could be many, many people who are going to do the same thing then moving forward. Remember, Joe, they didn't get their administrative state in one shot. It took time. FDR did a great job of putting a lot of that together, okay? But it still grew over time. I mean, you didn't have the EPA until Richard Nixon was in office. Richard Nixon created the EPA. So it took time to put that bureaucratic state in place. So it's going to take a little time. But if they could do even a couple of two-tree things, as they say in North New Jersey, now, in this 4 years of Trump, okay, and establish that as part of the Republican Party, okay, one agency a year out, okay, until they're all gone or severely reduced. That's also what they're afraid of. They're afraid of the next iteration of Donald Trump, Joe.
Joe, like I said, people have to open their eyes. At the end of the day, that's what I'm kind of hoping happens if Donald Trump is pushed aside by the machine. Maybe more people will see it. It may be too late, though. It may be too late because, like I said, if she wins, the first thing she's going to do is give amnesty to close to arguably 10 to 20 million people. Who knows what the true number is? And then we're going to have a one-party system, and that's why they were let in for no other reason. That's the first thing she does with an executive order, people. That's the first thing she's going to do, and it has nothing to do with them. Do you know how many people died at the border, Joe? Do you know how many children were trafficked at the border? Do you know how many women were raped at the border? I'm talking about the migrants themselves.
The media,
Countless,
I don't
countless souls.
because the media doesn't.
My point is, they don't care about them. They care about power. And that is exactly why the border was open, for that very reason. Write what I just said down. If she robs this election legally because of the way that the election laws were structured, it's all legal. So they're going to, George Stephanopoulos on Channel 7 News is going to say, where was the crime? Tell me what was illegal. Nothing was illegal, George. Nothing, because it was all legal. It was all legal, but that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it logical, and it's a mess. Right now, there's been 179, and that's doing some research, cases fighting the election laws right now in 2024, 179 in 38 states.
Listen to this. I got some for you. I'm glad you brought that up. I got something for you.
We have breaking news from the Trump campaign involving a lawsuit against Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Let's go back to NBC's Dasha Burns. Dasha, what do we know about this?
All right, so we just received an email from the Trump-Vance campaign saying that they have filed a lawsuit over voter suppression in Pennsylvania. The press release states that this is a direct violation of Pennsylvanians' right to cast their ballot. All voters have a right to stay in line, claiming that Bucks County, Pennsylvania has been turning away voters. Now, we're looking into all of these claims, Jose, but as I said to you earlier, Pennsylvania has been a specific focus for the Trump campaign when it comes to these claims of voter suppression. The former president posting earlier claiming that there's fraud going on, widespread fraud in Pennsylvania, which we have not seen evidence of. And Bucks County in particular, Jose, is a pretty critical county. It's one of the collar counties around Philadelphia, the suburban counties where both the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign really need to run up their numbers.
Okay, I can't listen to her anymore, and I'm going to tell you why, because she's a liar. She says that, well, no, we haven't seen any evidence. Joe, there's a video out there. The cop is standing in front of the polling place. He's standing in front of it with a line of people going back in Bucks County, basically turning them away. It's on videotape. Now, what am I supposed to do? Not believe my lying effing eyes? Now, two things real quick. Jack Posobiec has been all over. I love Jack Posobiec, okay? Anybody gets a chance to watch him, he works with Steve Bannon, who I'll get to in a second. Steve Bannon on Real America's Voice and The War Room. And Jack is saying, tweeting out there, because Jack Posobiec is in Pennsylvania. And he's a fellow Catholic, by the way. And he's saying, stay in line. Don't let them turn you away. It's on video. The cop is not letting them go in, number one. So that woman is crap. That's exactly what they're going to try to do, because the ballots and things like that, Joe, they realize that they're not going to be able to get away with 2020 in 2024. So now what they're doing is just straight out thuggery tactics. The other thing is this. You mentioned the lawsuits. Bannon is now out of prison. Thank God he's out of prison. By the way, he went to jail, Joe. He went to jail and let me say, more people are going to end up going to jail.
Oh, no question about it.
If this person,
no question about it,
gets elected and she has some sort of, not that she has the power, but the people controlling her have the power. Bannon went to jail, got right back on there, and he's blasting Mark Elias, and he's saying that basically Mark Elias is telling you what they're going to do. And he talked about the 170 some odd lawsuits that have been filed. That's right, they're getting filed because people are actually going to fight back and bring this to court. And it's this I won't say the word. I know you don't like when I say it. All right. This person, John Roberts, if any of these major cases gets there, he better take these cases.
Well, it's funny you mention that because the state of Virginia took the Democratic Party to court and it went up to the Supreme Court because they were cleansing their voting rolls and they found that non-citizens were on those rolls. And the Supreme Court took the case and it won 6-3. 2 points on that.
Did Virginia win?
Yes, they did.
So it was a successful lawsuit.
Correct. So why is that important? It sets a precedent. And if other states find that illegals and they prove it, meaning they don't pay taxes, voted, they're going to be scrubbed. So that was a big win. But secondly, and this is the point I want to bring up as well, 3 judges on the Supreme Court said that non-citizens can vote by their vote of saying, yes, it's 6-3. How? Joe, you don't have to go to law school. That's just straight up and down common sense. You don't pay taxes, you don't vote. Period. End of story. How could 3 judges vote for that? And you're going to tell me that that's not partisan? That doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. And anyone who frankly supports that, I don't know what to tell you. That is the very reason, I'm going to say it again, they were allowed in the country, and they're taking away the power of people who do pay taxes. How is that an American idea? Joe, how is that just an idea?
Right. Certainly not an American idea. As you're very well saying. I mean, that's the thing. If they're going to call Roberts and not even Roberts, I know it was a 6-3, but let's just say for the 5 real conservatives on the court, what they're doing is not partisan. They're saying that if you're a non-citizen, you can't vote. Okay. There's nothing partisan about that. There's no guarantee that any citizen, you don't know whether they're going to vote Democrat, Republican. But what you are saying is a matter of law and what it means to be a citizen. One of the things you get when you're a citizen that you don't get when you're a non-citizen is you don't have the right to vote. When you become a citizen, you do. Sotomayor, Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson obviously think that they're acting in a partisan way. They know that those illegals are going to vote for the Democrats and they want to keep that status quo. That's what they want to do. And I got to say one thing because you mentioned it earlier. Again, sometimes you have to tear down idols. Or I think you should always tear down idols. And I have a lot of things that I respect and admire about Ronald Reagan, okay? I don't know how somebody like him, somebody as smart as him, could have made that deal with them when he did in 1986. He single-handedly, with that deal, like you said, they made California permanently blue. And then when it became permanently blue, the people in power, the 4 families that run, like they talk about like the 5 mob families in New York, you got the 4 political families, the Gettys, the Pelosi's, the Newsoms, I forgot who the other one is, in California. Then they just turn around and they rig the whole system. You can't win if you're a Republican in California. California is the model for the rest of the country.
100%. And that's exactly what they did. Right in front of your eyes, people. And other countries have done it too. Mexico had a one-party system for 71 years, the majority of the 20th century. From the 1920s all the way up, almost to the turn of the century, 71 years.
Right.
One party. That's exactly what the game plan was. It happened right in front of your face. Right. They're about to execute it if they push her through. That's exactly what has happened.
Yeah. Yeah. You think in your mind that, and again, I just wonder. I mean, I know why now the founders created the Second Amendment, because this is a tyranny that we're dealing, or let's put it like this. Right now, it's still not a tyranny full blown yet. They still can be beaten. Okay. But Joe, you ask an average person, okay, especially in like a deep red state, they're not going to stand for this. I don't want to see any of this happen, okay? But I know the left is pushing for violence. I would recommend to anybody, please don't be violent. But at the very least, what are you going to do to the Republicans that are allowing this to happen? Let's forget about the Democrats for a second, okay? Forget about if you're sitting in your home looking at your 5 AK-47s that you have on the wall, or your 5 different guns, thinking you're going to do something in that regard. How about you start organizing, which would be much more effective than a bullet? Start organizing locally on the county level, the state level, to throw out the bum Republicans who are not fighting this fight as they should be fighting. Particularly, take Arizona, Joe Rossinello. Okay, we have a state legislature. Our state legislature is Republican. Why is it even for a second allowed by the state legislature, okay, that Maricopa County should be asking for 10 more days after election day to count the vote? The state legislature should step into the county and say, look, state legislature, we run the elections. That's our job under the Constitution, okay? You don't say how much time you need. We tell you how much time you have. You have 1 day. You count all the ballots on election day. We want it all turned in. And if it's not turned in by midnight, you're done. That's it. Every other place in the country does it. You're going to do it too. See, it's always the same thing. And then I'd love a comment. It's the scorpion and the frog. The frog is the Republicans. The scorpion are the Democrats. And the scorpion will always sting, and the gullible frog will always jump on the scorpion's back and get stung, and they both die. This is what's unconscionable, is that Raffensperger in Georgia and in here in Arizona back in 2020 with Ducey and the state, they were not listening to Republicans in the state. They said there was fraud in Maricopa County. There was fraud. Ballots, there was election fraud and fake ballots all over the place. We need more time. The Republicans are the one that stabbed Trump in the back. That's the problem, is that, you don't need to create any violence in this country. Start throwing these Republican bums out of office and start putting in people that are actually going to do something to make sure. Look, Joe, if we lose an election. We've done it. I've always believed in elections up until 2020. I believed our elections were fair, pretty much fair. Okay. We know there's always a certain level of corruption. However, I don't believe in our elections. At one point, you got to throw your hands up in the air and say, well, I'm going to have to do something about this. And I think we should start, Republicans and conservatives should start holding other Republicans and conservatives accountable or throw them out of office.
Joe, I'll be truthful with you. If we don't win this election, as in the people don't win this election with Trump, it's not going to matter. Like this is, and here's another thing. If Trump wins, the first thing he has to do is fix the election system.
Yes, I agree.
First thing, number one. And if he doesn't, we're in the same situation 4 years from now. That's the first thing that has to be fixed.
Right.
Is you have to have controls on the election process. And I hate to say it, we've been saying this for 4 years. You and I have been saying this. And here's another thing. I will sleep very well. Joe, we did our best. We told people a lot of this. We told them. All of this stuff has been discussed for 4 years on this show. It's all on the internet. Look it up.
And
we did our part.
You know what I was thinking about today, Joe Rossinello, before we came on to the front line with Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello, Way in the Breach, Friday night this week. Next week, we'll be back to Thursday. Please share this video. Share it wherever you're watching it. Share it on YouTube. Share it on Rumble. Share it on X. Share it on Facebook. Please help us out. You know what I was thinking about, though, Joe? When you think about it, really, the Democrats are pretty smart in this regard. All they had to do, what they did in 2020 and what they're going to try to do this time around, is corrupt about 6 or 7 counties. That's it. All they have to do is commit fraud in about Fulton County, Georgia, Maricopa County, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, right? I forgot the counties in Michigan and Wisconsin. That's all you got to do. Just Nevada, what is it? Clark County, Nevada. They don't have to rig things all over the place. 6 or 7 counties. That's it. And then votes that they need will just pop up in the middle of the night. Why do you think Maricopa County's asking for 10 days, Joe? Because they know the vote's going to be so overwhelming for Trump. They're going to get the count. They don't have enough ballots that are going to make up for the beating that Kamala Harris is going to take in Arizona. Okay. Arizona is not a blue state. It's not a purple state. I'm not convinced of that even for a second. Okay. Even on abortion. Okay. Because Planned Parenthood and big abortion, they're lying about that whole thing. Okay. It's not. Okay. But why do you think they're doing that? Because Trump is going to drub her so bad that in these counties, that's where they're going to manufacture the votes that they need. And that's all that they're going to need to push those states over the top. That's it. Joe, give me a comment.
Joe, I'll be truthful with you. We have no one to blame but ourselves. And this conversation should not have been had 30 days before the election.
Right.
Should have been 4 years ago.
That's right.
4 years ago. And like I said, people were talking about it. People like us, we were talking about it. Why do you think the border was open? You think it was a humanitarian effort? Please. I'm just saying, like, we've been doing this to foreign countries. I said this earlier in the show for decades. Now it's happening right in front of our face. That's not conspiracy. And I got news for you. When people cry a foul, and people are going to be put in jail.
That's right.
Mark my words.
Father, we're gonna go and we're gonna leave you with a clip, okay? That we want you to watch. It's only about a minute long. Father Calvin Robinson, who's made quite a name for himself. He's very well known now because he's very outspoken. He was at I forgot what organization was, and they invited him to speak. He only spoke for 3 minutes. But he said this. We said this on the show. But he pointed out that England is gone. This is his homeland. Okay, said England is gone. The churches are empty. Okay, God is out of the equation, and Christians are now a minority in England. That's what he said. Okay, because I guess you would have to include all other groups. Let's say, as opposed to Christians. Christians are in the minority. And we interviewed Joseph Pierce, Christian after the England after the fall of the Roman Empire was a Catholic country and was so until Henry VIII wrecked it, and that's where the downfall came in. Proud Christian country, and they basically just given up, Joe. They've given up. But anyway, we're going to leave you with a clip that we want you to watch for about a minute. About our view of a good priest who in a homily that we want you to hear. And Joe and I are going to take off. It's Friday night, and we're both going to turn into pumpkins. But having said that, we will be back next Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. We apologize for the switcheroo this week. Go out and go vote. Go out and go vote. I voted. Joe's going to vote. Many in our chat room have voted. Go out and go vote. And if you're in Arizona, please make sure you vote against Prop 139, against Prop 139, which would make abortion legal up to the moment of birth, which is disgusting. Abortion itself is disgusting. If it could get even more disgusting, that would be it. But we want to thank you once again for joining us. Stick around for the clip, and remember until the next time that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
A practicing Catholic and be part of the current Democratic Party, knowing that this group is actively working for the killing of the unborn. You cannot be part of a group or an association that's focus is to bring about moral evils. This is why for centuries, the Catholic Church has made it very clear that you cannot be a Freemason, because there are foundational principles of the Freemasons that are contrary to the Catholic faith. You cannot be part of something which is essential to it, moral evils, because you cannot be part of something and not support what is essential to it, picking and choosing what you want, what you like. And you have a moral obligation not to be part of that. There is a moral obligation here not to be part of them, regardless of whatever other good things you might think the Democratic Party is trying to bring about. Murder is a line you cannot cross.